Hello and welcome to an Arcade Pickups. Now if you're not into arcade stuff and you just purely consoles, then maybe this is not the video for you, but if you love games, especially if you love fighting games, then you probably want to stick around. And if you love Melty Blood, and who doesn't love Melty Blood, you definitely want to stick around. So before we get to all that good fun game stuff, let's have a quick wander around the old game room. A couple of updates on some of the machines. So Daemon Bride is the main game that was the big pickup. I actually picked it up in November, but a lot of issues, hence the delayed video. I thought I might as well do a happy video once everything was resolved, rather than a sad video with all the issues. So I actually did a little bit of spring cleaning on the Limburgs and swapped things around. Put in the Taito X2 multi in there and also the NAOMI. One of the most important skills you pick up when you're maintaining these arcade machines is how to clean unspeakable, disgusting gunk out the back of monitors. It's quite incredible what they pick up. They seem to suck every known nicotine particle in the universe and store them. These Limburgs actually came from a smokeless, clean Singapore arcade. So maybe they had a previous life in Japan, or maybe they've been sneaking out for a cheeky cigarette. So enough already about the dirt. As you can see, I've been playing a little bit of Trouble Witches on the Taito X3. Such a good game, very underrated. Soul Calibur's still there on the 256. Probably swap that out for Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection soon. And here's the pickups. Yeah, a box full of foam. And what could be in there? Some NAOMI. Yep, all will be revealed. So first up is a gift from the super generous I'm Borderline. Absolute top bloke on Saru's Discord. Really great guy, really helped me out. I've been after one of these for ages actually. So this is a Sega STV IO board for stereo sound for an Everton. Not only is it improve your sound, but also it's got the CPS kick harnesses on there as well, so it's really useful. Essential if you've got a Sega STV. And these are really difficult to get hold of, really difficult. He's always selling out of these. They're really quality IO boards. So unfortunately I missed out on the last batch, and I mentioned this to I'm Borderline, and he says I've got you. He knows this guy, he lives locally to him, so he hooked me up and got me one of these and sent it across to me. Absolute top geezer, top bloke. Thank you so much, mate. And your Prezi will be on the way shortly. And I'm sure you like it. It's a shooter, it's legit, and from a company that begins with Te and ends in To. I think we need some games, and we have got some NAOMI ones for you. So these GD Rom games are actually from the same seller as the EXAMU. So when I actually received the motherboard the first time around in November, I got him to send me 2 Melty Blood games. There's actually 3 revisions altogether, and I needed to get the first 2 revisions. There's slightly different variations to the games. You can sort of see an evolution. They kind of developed the game. So actually you got footage here of Melty Blood at Condenser version B. So this one is actually the second revision. So this was actually 2005, 2006. The later revision is revision B2, which is in 2007. And for those who don't know much about this amazing fighting game, it's developed by Type Moon and French Bread. I think originally it was a visual novel, something like that, and they just converted it into a fighting game. I can't recommend enough about this game. It's an absolute top fighter. If you're a beginner, there's something there for you. You can pick up and play. It's fantastic. And if you're advanced, there is a lot of depth to it as well. So there is something there for everybody. And just look at those stunning graphics. Like I say, I can't recommend it enough. The sequel, Melty Blood Actress, again also was on the NAOMI. Strange enough, they didn't make it to the Dreamcast, but both games made it to the PlayStation 2, so if you're looking to play these games, that's your best option. They kind of released a sequel on the Sega Ring Edge hardware, but it was more of an update really. It was the current code version, and most recently, of course, on modern platforms they've got Melty Blood Type Lumia, which I really would like to get the Switch version, but getting a physical copy is really tricky at the moment. So for one legendary 2D fighting game to another, we have Guilty Gear XX/ by Arc Systems. Again, this is another one that's constantly kept on being updated. I think from the year 2000 to 2006, 2007, every year there was a new Guilty Gear game, either on the NAOMI or on the Atomic Wave. This is actually one of the later Guilty Gear games from the NAOMI, so this is 2005. So already the mechanics are well defined, the gameplay, everything's already down at this stage. Of course, it's got everything that we love about Arc Systems in this game. You know, amazing roster of characters to choose from, normally with a sword the size of the screen, outrageous moves, amazing graphics, and the sounds. The tracks are absolutely killer on Guilty Gear games. It's a great pick up and play game. It's ideal for parties. This game naturally draws people to it. You switch it on and people want to play this game. And they have a lot of fun too. You know, okay, there's a bit of button mashing for beginners, but there's a lot of depth to it too, if you're really into your fighters. So the next game is purely a party game. It's Puyo Fever. Not much of introduction is needed for this one. I think everyone is very familiar with Puyo, the classic puzzle game. I was a little bit surprised. I always thought this was by Compile, and so it's actually Sonic Team, which is a little bit strange. There's actually two Puyo games on the NAOMI. The others is Puyo Da, which is a rhythm game. The game is one of the reasons why I set up the machines in tandem, because when it comes to Puyo and Tetris, and even Magical Drop, it becomes very, very competitive in my household and very intense. So my missus really loves these games, and so do my kids, and it completely changes their characters. It becomes very, very, very competitive, and normally ends in tears, sometimes mine, sometimes theirs, but yeah, normally there's tears involved. So next up we got Tetris Kiwamichi, apologies for the pronunciation, and this is by Success. Obviously Success are a great developer, and this is a great Tetris game, to be honest with you. There's two Tetris games on the NAOMI, this one and the Sega Tetris, which is the one probably you've seen on the Dreamcast with the monkey. This is much better. This is more of a serious Tetris, and definitely recommend it. If you are a Tetris fan, this is the one you want to go for. I believe this also came out in Japan on the PlayStation 2. I don't think it got a North American release. So before we get to the finale, here's something completely different. No arcade pickup video is complete without a little bit of SNK in there somewhere. And I got some new old stock marquees. So they were $25 US on Facebook, including shipping. I think they look great, and I'm really happy with them. So we're down to our last box, our last pickup, and so the question was, what is in that big box of foam? Well, it is a new motherboard for my EXAMU X board. So like I mentioned before, I actually got the EX board back in November, but I've had a lot of issues with it. I don't really go into too much details, but there's a bit of configuration issues, and then on top of it, it started to crash. It was just not working as I expected it. So I spoke to the guy who sold it to me, and after a little bit of backwards and forwards, he agreed finally to send me a new motherboard. As you can see, the original actually came in a very hard case, a big metal heavy case. So he just sent the internal parts, and I just replaced it and got it to work, and now it's running smooth without any issues at all. So who exactly are EXAMU and why should you care? Well, to answer that question, you've got to go back a little bit, back to the time and days of the MVS. Back at the end of the MVS's life, SNK was going through a weird time with the licensing. Obviously they went bankrupt, and Samurai Showdown ended up in the hands of Yuki Enterprise, and they released Samurai Showdown 5 and Special. Around 2003-2004, the rights went back to SNK in the form of SNK Playmore, and they went on to obviously do Samurai Shodown 6 on the Atomic Wave. While these guys, they did stick around. They formed EXAMU from the UK Enterprise, and they obviously enjoy making 2D fighters because they continue to do so, and they made their own franchise, which is Arcana Heart. So they developed their own little platform for the games, so this is the X board, and mostly it was for Arcana Hearts, but they did release one other game, which is Daemon Bride, and that was released in 2009, in between Arcana Heart 2 and 3. As you can see from the footage, that the full set includes all sorts of goodies and graphics and posters, and of course the games themselves, which are tiny little things. I won't bore you with the specs of the actual machine itself, it's easy enough to look up, but I will mention the fact that it has a JAMA output for the controls rather than JVS, and visually it won't send video out for the JAMA, it's by the VGA. So here's the game in comparison to other systems like the Atomic Wave or STV or CPS3. As you can see, it's absolutely tiny, so be very careful. Put it on your top shelf. Don't let little hands get to it, because you know what will happen. Here's a quick look at the poster before we get onto the important stuff, the game. As you can see quite clearly from the posters and also from the title of the game itself, the game is all about a battle of good and evil, this demons versus angels. So when you get to choose your character, you're effectively choosing a human with angelic powers or demonic powers. While not completely groundbreaking, it does make a good premise for a fighting game. I think probably the first thing that hits you are the graphics. I think visually it's a very stunning game. I think the sprites are very large and detailed. I think it's quite interesting, the backgrounds, but it's a lot more floaty than other fighting games that you're probably used to. I don't actually mean floaty in a bad way, just you will spend a lot of time in the air, moving around the screen, putting yourself in certain positions depending on what kind of character you've got, depending on their strengths. Controls are fairly simple. You've only got weak and strong attack, and apart from that you have your demon's attack or angel attack, and also your boost or your sort of dash. There's 3 counters to sort of keep an eye on. You've got the heart underneath your character, which effectively is like a level up of power. And then you've got the blue bar, which is the Bride attack bar, which will slowly deplete when you use it, and the green one, which is your standard sort of power up to use special moves. 2011, EXAMU actually re-released the game on the NESica Live system as additional game. There's slight changes to the gameplay and to the balance, but nothing much. And I just got a feeling they're just trying to get off the X board because it kept on crashing. Unfortunately, it never made it to home consoles, but if you ever have the chance to play it on the NESica Live system, I highly recommend you do so. It's a lot of fun. The cool thing about the X board is the fact you can just slot in a new game, and I've actually got a copy of Arcana Hearts version 3. Altogether there's 4 games on the system, so the 2 I've already covered, and also 2 other Arcana Hearts games. The similarities between the 2 games are extremely evident in both the presentation and the graphics, but Arcana Hearts has been around for a very long time, so the gameplay mechanics has evolved over time and has now become very well defined, and the roster is absolutely huge. They've got so many characters to choose from and different variations of how to play for Arcana Hearts. There's a lot to it. Obviously EXAMU have a nice little niche going on with Arcana Hearts with their all-girl lineup, and they know exactly what they're doing with that franchise. So I give them a lot of respect for what they tried to do with Daemon Bride, and it's a shame that it didn't make it to consoles. Arcana Hearts 3 will be the last game released on the EX board. After that, EXAMU will be solely releasing arcade games on the NESica Live system up until 2017. EXAMU actually had 3 other very notable games on the NESica Live system, and these actually made it to the home consoles. So Atlas released Aqua Plaza on the PlayStation 3, Nitro Blasters Plus got released on the PS4, and the last game for an EXAMU was actually Arthur Millions, which was only released in Japan on the PlayStation 4. So you made it to the end of the pickups video. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it and you felt that EXAMU love that I tried to share here. They're cracking games, really. If you've got the opportunity, try and get the PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 games. They're really worth it. With that note, thank you very much guys, and I'll see you later.